They say a house is just wood and walls, just structure, just space, just shelter. But close your eyes for a moment and imagine walking through a doorway that doesn't just welcome you, it remembers you. What if the walls weren't just boundaries, but quiet storytellers? What if the floor beneath your feet held the echo of generations, while the ceiling above whispered dreams that haven't yet been spoken aloud? That's the thing about barndominiums. They don't shout. They hum. They hum the songs of the past while carrying the rhythm of the present. This isn't about square footage, it's about soul footage. You step in and something shifts. There's warmth in the timber, not just from the sun, but from the life that's happened here, or the life waiting to begin. A rustic contemporary barndominium isn't flashy. It's not trying to impress anyone, but it surprises you. Not with noise, but with stillness. The kind of stillness you feel in your chest before a storm, or in the hush that follows the last word of a good story. You look around and see the past, raw beams, worn textures, the kind of imperfections that only time can carve. But then your eye moves and there's glass. Clear, clean, open, steel lines drawn like intention. Light bending across surfaces like it's been invited to stay a while. It's not just beautiful, it's honest. And that's rare, so maybe a house really is just wooden walls. But this is something else entirely. This is a space that doesn't just hold your furniture. It holds your history, your solitude, your laughter, your becoming. And if you listen closely, you might just hear it breathing with you. Born from farmland, reborn for modern dreamers. Once, these structures sheltered hay and tractors and the quiet rhythm of rural life. Now, they cradle something more intimate, something more intentional. A rustic contemporary barndominium is not just a building style, it's a conversation between past and present. Raw timber beams that once bore the weight of wagons now stretch across living rooms filled with light. Reclaimed wood-lined walls where families now gather for dinners, where laughter echoes beneath vaulted ceilings. It's in this blend, this unlikely harmony, that the magic happens. You see textures worn by time, and then suddenly, clean angles. Minimalist design that doesn't overpower, but instead reveals. Exposed steel, polished concrete, white walls that let nature do the talking through every window. It doesn't choose between rustic charm and modern clarity. It holds both, like hands clasped tightly across decades. And the people drawn to these homes, they're not just building houses, they're building pauses, spaces to breathe. A young couple leaves behind the noise of the city, not because they're running from it, but because they're ready for something else, a different rhythm, a slower song. A family reimagines what home means after years of chasing deadlines and missing dinners. They find peace in imperfection, joy in simplicity, freedom in open space. These homes are not just built, they're felt. And the journey, from blueprint to reality, isn't always smooth. There's sawdust in the air and decisions that never end. There are delays, doubts, moments where it feels too big, too bold, too different. But then the vision becomes visible. A kitchen where sunlight spills over stone. A hallway lined with heritage. A bedroom wrapped in silence. And suddenly, the chaos that once felt so familiar fades, replaced by something softer, something steadier. A barndominium doesn't promise perfection, but it offers presence. And in a world that moves too fast, that may be the most contemporary thing of all. Why are people drawn to this style? Why does a rustic contemporary barndominium pull at the heart in a way that no other space quite can? It's more than design, it's a return to quiet, to grounding, to what matters. In a world of digital noise and fast decisions, this kind of home slows everything down. It brings you back to something ancient, something familiar, without asking you to give up the beauty of now. The morning begins differently here. The sun doesn't just rise, it drips in slowly, casting soft light across matte surfaces. The air smells faintly of cedar and warm stone, like the forest has made its way indoors. You walk across the room, and your boots echo on polished concrete. Not loudly, not rudely, just enough to remind you, you're here, fully here. This isn't a showroom. It's not curated to impress a stranger. It's shaped around real life. The sink isn't hidden. The lines on the wood aren't smoothed away. They're honored. Because imperfection, here, is not a flaw. It's the texture of truth. People come to this style not to decorate, but to express. Every beam, every shelf, every choice in tone and texture says something deeply personal. This is a home where the outside doesn't overwhelm the inside, where nature whispers through open windows, and space is allowed to breathe. Simplicity isn't a trend. It's a relief. It's stepping out of a world that demands more, and choosing to live with only what matters. Not less, but enough. And then there's sustainability. This isn't about sacrificing beauty for responsibility. It's about realizing the two were never separate. Using reclaimed materials, working with the land instead of against it, letting light and air do the heavy lifting, it's not just wise. It's sacred. The Rustic Contemporary Barndominium is not a fantasy home. It's a real one. And in its quiet corners and open arms, people find something they didn't know they'd lost. Permission to slow down, to listen, to be. You thought this only lived on acres of land? Look again. Because what began on back roads and open fields has quietly crept into the edges of everything. The Rustic Contemporary Barndominium is no longer just a rural retreat. It's a quiet revolution, unfolding on the fringes of city skylines, taking root in places you'd never expect. You'll find it standing bold on the urban edge, surrounded by concrete, softened by the glow of natural wood. Here, it offers contrast. Steel against brick. Silence beside traffic. It becomes a sanctuary not because it escapes the city, but because it redefines what peace can mean within it. In the desert, barndos rise like sculptural silhouettes, part homestead, part horizon. Earth tones blend into sun-baked hills. Large glass openings frame sunsets that feel almost too generous. The rustic warmth grounds you. The contemporary lines lift you. It's elemental and refined all at once. And then there's the lakeside version. Quiet, reflective. A barn reborn in mist and mirror, with wood that weathers like poetry. It doesn't shout its presence. It simply belongs, like it's always been there, waiting. These homes thrive not because of where they are, but because of who they're for. They speak to people searching for balance and contrast, people who no longer want to choose between nature and progress, between history and innovation. The barndominium has become a kind of architectural chameleon, retaining its roots while adapting to the soul of its setting. It proves you don't need wide-open farmland to feel grounded. You just need intention, honesty in materials, simplicity in spirit. It's not rural, it's not urban, it's something in between, something softer than concrete, stronger than nostalgia. And maybe that's the most surprising part. It doesn't matter where it stands, city, forest, plain, or canyon. When done right, it always feels like home. Because it was never about the location. It was always about the feeling. What if your next home wasn't just built, but remembered? Not because of how much it cost, or how long it took to finish, but because of what it gave you. A sense of pause. A space to breathe. A place that felt, finally, like yours. These walls may not talk, but they listen. They listen when the day's been long and your shoes drop heavy by the door. They listen when laughter spills across the kitchen or when silence fills the air, and that silence is safe.